Parents of bullies, when did you realize your child was a bully and how did you react? In preschool, my daughter began to show signs of being a mean girl. She would talk about refusing to play with someone because she didn't like their clothes and convince her friends not to play with other kids. I watched the edited for TV version of Mean Girls with her, and we stopped and talked about how the kids treated each other and how they might be feeling. She started being nicer all around. What really spoke to her was being the victim of a mean girl situation in first grade. Now in middle school, she is quick to identify mean girls and bullies, doesn't let herself become their victims, and befriends kids who are victims and helps them connect with other nice kids. The biggest bully that went after me at school, with all the names, pushing, pranks, etc. His mother worked for the school. So I told her, "Your son is a real ass." Her reply, "Yeah, I know." With a disappointed face. My son is 4 and has started some bullying behavior. He will call other kids stupid just out of the blue or talk openly about how much cooler, better his choice is than some other kids. His mom and I pretty much nip it in the bud right there. We tell him that saying things like that is not cool, and we have him go up to the kid, apologize, and then compliment them. I really hope that this is just a phase. A year after I graduated high school, the meanest, most popular girl in school mother called my mom and said, "I'm sorry if my daughter ever upset or hurt your daughter." Apparently she called a bunch of girls' moms from my grade to apologize for her daughter's behavior. I remember this one kid who kept trying to pick fights with everyone, had parents that was in charge of a local church. Parents got upset and tried to start a legal battle when I defended myself on the playground. I was suspended and my punishment was the new Spider-Man movie. It's pizza time. My sister, who I partially raised, was a bully, and one of my long-term foster kids was definitely a bully in the beginning. Not to be cliché, but it was nearly entirely due to trauma and mental health problems. My sister turned out to have some pretty serious bipolar. My foster son had been abused in every sense, actively isolated, and had gone to 5 schools by the 3rd grade. Gone is in quotes because he never actually went. Both of them were very obviously bullies in different ways. My sister was manipulative and was constantly lying to get her way. My foster son also lied a lot but was not very good at it and mostly had physical aggression. I worked with my foster son and his therapists a lot to navigate situations with bullying. He started on his own saying things like, "Hey, I'm sorry I was rough back there," or "It makes me scared when I think someone is going to hit me in the head." The kids were super forgiving, and I honestly think the hardest part for him, once he got less defensive, was forgiving himself. He also saw me defend him with other adults and kids a few times, so he learned the difference between standing up for yourself and being malicious. Some kids are just being dicks, but some of them really have been through it and are acting out because of it. Was told my kid was a bully in 4th grade. Okay, I had seen signs of him being bossy to his sisters, so we had numerous talks. I watched him like a hawk, jumped on him if he even so much as gave a sideways glance at his sisters. Later on, the kid he supposedly bullied came to a small gathering at our house. What a little shit that kid was. Took our digital camera off my husband's desk when they were expensive items and broke the battery compartment hinge because he threw the stupid camera because it wasn't Polaroid. I had a hard time keeping my husband from bullying this little shit. Later still, talking to other parents, my son was not the only unfairly accused. The little shit was tiny for his age, had red hair and freckles and long eyelashes and a sweet smile, and at first glance was angelic. My son was cool with our temporary mistrust because it came out he was not the only one. I always wonder what became of the little shit. Not a parent, but I'm the eldest cousin, and one of the younger lads had a bit of a bully phase when I was in my early teens. I was used to him picking on his little brother, but he started extending it to other lads' extended family and friends. He was tall for his age, so he abused that. But I was bigger back then. I'm now a puny 5'9" to those 6+ monstrosities, so I put him in a headlock and asked how it felt. He started crying. He cut his shit after that, at least around me. He still picks on his brother as an adult, but if anyone else tries, he unleashes holy wrath. Hopefully I wasn't a bully, I didn't pick on people, but if people picked on me I was like, right, we fighting. Not a parent, but my older brother was a horrendous bully to both myself and other children. He was just abnormally aggressive from day one. First thing he did when I was born was try to attack me, and from there began years of physical attacks that would last into my teens. And when he began school, it wasn't long before he started attacking and bullying other kids too. He was also a poor student and was always getting into other sorts of trouble, etc. He really relished violence, arguing and being antisocial. My parents were split on the issue of my brother's antisocial behavior. No matter what my brother did wrong, he was my mother's golden boy, but at the same time, she expected my father to discipline my brother, while she refused to intervene and made constant excuses for his behavior. Then one day my father died, and after that, there was nobody with either the power or will to properly intervene on my brother's bad behavior. So the downward spiral of endless incidents at different schools continued and eventually culminated in my brother getting expelled with no grades. He was not unloved. Over the years, endless relatives, friends and teachers etc. doted on him and gave him so many opportunities, educational and otherwise. People were always convinced that there must be some sort of understandable reason for why he was the way he was, and that all he needed was the right sort of support and he would improve. These days he openly identifies himself as a psychopath. And no, I would have to agree somewhat with that self-diagnosis. He is very smart, but he seems to suffer from a profound lack of innate ability to empathize with other people. Despite this though, he views himself as a superior being, and he has a long history of manipulative behavior. I can't say that things worked out great for my brother. As an adult in his 30s he is a fascist with very few friends, no real career, no education. He has wasted a lot of his inheritance, and he has alienated almost every person in my family because of reputations he developed for being lazy, antisocial, undependable, manipulative, hard to handle, and just generally lacking in integrity. I myself cut him out of my life because he was nothing but drama and because he also remained very volatile and threatening even as an adult. Overall, while my mother's approach to raising my brother certainly didn't help things, I also think that there was something fundamentally wrong with my brother from the get-go. When my sons told me about the zero-tolerance policy at school, I gave them permission to defend themselves. They protested, saying there will be a 3-day suspension for any offense or defense. My response was that if you are truly defending yourself, I will make sure those are the happiest 3 days of your life. As a result, they were never bullied. Bullies just seem to know who won't defend themselves. Not me, but when I was growing up we had a neighbor kid who was like 6 years older than me, always teasing and making fun of me. Until one day, when I was already in a shitty mood, I was like 6, it happened a lot, I put on my gloves, it was cold outside, don't judge me, then jumped the fence and punched him square in the mouth. Knocked one of his teeth out and gave him a busted lip. Went bawling inside. His mum came over an hour or so later and was basically like, yeah, I always knew he was a little shit. He deserved it. Then left. He never spoke to me again, though. As far as I know he's married now with his own kids. Not a parent, but I'm the oldest cousin and I take care of my cousins. One of them, I'll refer to her as M, is a bully, and she's 11. When I was younger she would constantly pick on me and treat me badly, and now I see her doing this to the other girls at family get-together. She would be in a group with another cousin, and they would just be awful. Last time I went to a family gathering she broke down one of my cousins to a breakdown because they were isolating her and picking on her. I had to console her while she broke down, saying how M would tell her she should not come to her house anymore, and how M wishes that her and her family would just go away. She had told her mother about M actions, but they can't tell my aunt because she's afraid she won't be believed. I honestly hope M grows out of being a little shit. I am the stepmother of a bully. It isn't significant other's firstborn son. We only get to see him once a week and it is horrible. He is always getting suspended from school for hitting kids, cussing out the teacher. And his bio mother does absolutely nothing. His bio father and I are not allowed to discipline him in any way. And he takes advantage of it. He has no remorse or empathy. He has tripped his 3-year-old brother on purpose just cause. Tells his sister to shut up, calls her names and hits her just because. He once smacked a girl he was playing with so hard in the face she had a welt because she tagged him. And then looked us in the eyes and lied about it. I usually tell him to knock it off and ask him if he would like it if someone treated him that way. He doesn't care. In fact, he gets angry if I ask him that. I am honestly terrified that he will end up in prison. I no longer allow him around my son for fear he will hurt him. I know there is something wrong with this boy, but his mother is unwilling to discipline him in any way, and there is nothing we can do. Kid in my primary school was a righteous bitch. When her mom found out, you could hear the screaming and yelling if you were living in the housing estate we lived in. I was just there minding my business when I heard what the fuck and the mom going off at the girl. Kid came in crying the next day to apologize. At home, my son always went on about how much cooler he was than everybody else, and I started to worry it would influence his behavior at school, so I told him to think differently. Soon after, we got a call from the school about him disparaging other kids. Needless to say, he faced some harsh discipline, no fortnight for 8 weeks, and was taught about empathy and other viewpoints. 4 weeks into his punishment, we were told at parent-teacher interviews that not only was he being nicer to other kids, but was also more positive in general. I'm very happy. The first week of first grade, the teacher told us he was starting to have bully-like behavior. We've struggled with counteracting it since, and he's 13 now, but he also is autistic with a learning delay and has a lot of issues, either being super focused on something, usually the wrong thing, or nothing at all. It is always someone else. Someone else started it, or she was looking at me the wrong way. He will always have just one person he hates like a mortal enemy. You try to defuse the situation by telling him to tell the teachers when something happens so they can be aware of the situation, but it seems to be two-sided, always. Since starting high school this year, 2 terms, and we've been suspended twice. In primary school, he hit a kid in the face because she didn't blink. He thought she was a doll apparently. Honestly, as parents, we're doing our best. He is a very difficult child at the best of times and has only recently started medication for ADHD, which has helped his behavior significantly. But we still have to deal with the lesser understanding of consequences. When I heard of my son scaring another child at the bus stop, I marched him over to the child's house, lectured him how this was the wrong thing to do along the way, made him apologize to the other child and the parent, told him in front of them this was unacceptable and I would not tolerate it, apologized myself for his error, and assured the two it would never happen again, and then walked him home. My sister is a selfish, entitled bitch who literally won't do a fucking thing for herself. Everything has to be peeled and handed to her in life, or else she'll just cry and use it as more pity for her party. She was always a cunt to me as I'm her little half-sister, and she resented me because I stole her thunder of being an only child and actually knowing my dad. So I always knew she was awful. But my dad didn't see it until I was a bit older, and he started noticing how she would literally take my friends away, i.e. lie to them and tell them I'm grounded, or that I don't want to be friends with them anymore, steal my gifts money during holidays, and just generally treat me like shit. Our mom never saw this as she worked constantly and was a raging alcoholic. She didn't believe my dad and I until she came home early from work one day and caught my sister choking me against a wall because I refused to give her my money. Mom grabbed her back and threw her on the bed. After that, my mom stopped fighting with everyone when they'd call my sister on her shit. Both my parents still make excuses for my sister's shitty behavior constantly, but they respect that I hate her and refuse to bail her out. She's 30 with 3 kids and a pending divorce. She refuses to work, picks shitty guys who will put up with her shit, doesn't cook clean, doesn't take care of her kids, nothing. My dad stopped bailing her out because he sees it as enabling. Our mom not so much. She allows it to continue. She knows my sister is a horrible person but doesn't want to hurt the grandchildren, which I've told her a million times that my sister is never going to take care of those kids. She could be a damn millionaire and she still would have her kids walking around in dirty clothes and unbathed. I was a bully when I was little, but I was always really good at masking that. I was a really manipulative little kid. I'm glad I'm not as much of a cunt anymore, and I'm not a little sociopath anymore. My niece has been going through the mean toddler phase for about 2 years, whereby she actively seeks out younger, smaller children, chiefly her cousin, my daughter, and physically dominates them. She is possessive over anything and everything, and generally makes other kids live hell. My SIL is absolutely useless at disciplining her, whereas her dad is too much, so she gets very mixed signals in what's right and what's wrong. My solution has been that when she is a bully towards my kids or others that I am around, I will watch her like a hawk, and once she has had her first strike there are no more chances. I isolate my kids from her and have them play nicely and put her on a sort of forced playtime timeout where she isn't allowed to play with us, and then tell her it is because she was mean to another child. She is intelligent enough for this to sink in, but generally only gives us an hour of relative peace before she starts again, and the whole process starts again. A kid beat me up in first grade once and he got suspended. I was afraid of looking like a wimp with my black eye and busted lip, so the school let me take time off until the bruise went down and my lip swelling went down, and told the other kids I bumped my head pretty hard and needed to rest. When I came back, I was called to the office in the morning and the kid was in there with his mom. Holy shit, was that woman scary when she's mad. The principal said insert dude who whooped my ass's name, would like today something. He just stood there for like 5 minutes until his mom broke the silence with, "Hey, quit being an ass and say it," while smacking him, not hard, just enough to let him know that she meant business, upside the back of the head, to which he apologized. His mom told him to get his ass to the car while she talked to me. After her rage subsided, she was the sweetest woman ever. She said her elder sons bullied him, and she thinks he was looking to take that out on someone smaller than me, and that she should have done something about it, and that she was more sorry than he is. After that she have me some chocolate and other candy and said, "Don't worry, if he so much as acts up one more time she will paint his back porch red, as well as her older sons, for bullying her youngest so much." Pretty good friends with the guy now, really mild-mannered dude. His mom is also hot, even after over 10 years.